As I wrote to you, I was so impressed with that letter that you wrote to the reformer
About aging?
about aging. Yeah, it's my
Well,
perspective on growing old.
yeah.
How old are you today?
99 and 2/3.
Old age is a gift to be treasured. Now, I don't think there are many people in our culture that would really like endorse a view like that. You
I
know?
think I mentioned in there it because you never heard anybody say, I wish I was 99." You know. That's what I put. But a lot of people don't.
Maybe when you're 110, you wish you were 99.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But a lot of people don't. They take old age as a affliction. You know. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
There. But I don't look at it like that. Every day I get up, it's an opportunity, a new opportunity.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I keep on laughing here. I'm telling you.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a smile never hurt anybody, as long as it isn't at somebody else's expense. I don't have any bad feelings about what I've done in the past.
Ah.
I mean, I've got regrets, of course, but nothing serious enough to bother me.
So you must have been quite a ladies' man there at one point in your life.
Take a look at my graduation picture.
Where is it?
Right back of that Valentine card.
This one here?
One of my teachers in high school hit on me.
I don't know, Warren.
Let's see here.
I'm
You
65
don't-
and nobody's ever hit on me.
You-
What's your secret?
Well, it's going to cost
get
you.
Where'd you grow up, Warren?
Well, I haven't grown up yet. I was born in Springfield. I lived in Longmeadow, Mass., which is right next to Springfield.
Okay.
And then we had a fire, burned the whole house down, and then we moved to Derry, and I was so young, I don't even remember. But then we came back to Springfield. And I grew up and went to school in Springfield, grammar school and high school.
Did you have any brothers or sisters growing up, or
A lot of them.
how many?
7.
7.
7.
Wow.
I was next to the youngest.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there were 4 boys and 4 girls. And I was about 5 years old before I understood why my sisters had 4 brothers and I only had 3.
Is it true that basketball was started in Springfield?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Well, not much, except I know my mother knew the one that originated basketball.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't play basketball. I wrestled when I was in high school, and also the Stanley Steamer was invented in Springfield. And in Springfield, they assembled the Rolls Royce, the only place in the country, and it was shipped from England in parts and assembled at the same factory where the Indian motorcycle was made.
Really?
And that was made in Springfield, Mass. The Indian motorcycle would race the Rolls Royce down past our house. The Rolls Royce was not finished. It was only the chassis. And the driver sat on a box or something. And the Indian, and they were just fooling around, you know. From there, I went to Hartford. And, you know,
You went where? To
Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford. Oh, okay.
East Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Worked for Firestone Tire Rubber Company.
Oh, they had a place in Hartford, huh?
Yeah,
Ah.
they did at that time. Then I worked for Pratt & Whitney during the war, 1940 to 1945. And I didn't want to work in a factory all my life, so that's when we decided to strike out for Vermont or New Hampshire. My wife, and she was a city girl, and she went along with the whole thing. When I look back, I was very fortunate that she was agreeable. Her family, and in fact mine. Why do you want to live up in the woods there for? What do you?
Why did you, Warren? Is there a what was the biggest draw for you to move up?
I wanted to get out of the. I told you the factory. I didn't want to be a factory man all my life.
Yeah.
And I liked the country anyways.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to really live, I didn't want to live in the busy city with any job. But we moved, we looked to, after 1945 and Pratt and Whitney, the war was over, we looked in New Hampshire and Vermont for a place. And finally we decided that Jamaica would be it. And we bought a farm out towards Rawsonville.
So you didn't have a job per se. You came to farm.
No. We didn't have a job.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job.
So that was pretty gutsy.
Well, yeah, tell me about it. I worked at a toy factory in South Londonderry for about 6 months. But then the place burned down, and the people kept wondering if I did it. I didn't do it.
Why, they knew you weren't too happy working there or something?
Well, it was so monotonous making these little wooden toys. You stand in a machine and you turn them out by the bushel, you know. Yeah, we managed in the farm there. It was, I didn't do any farming really because that wasn't what I wanted to do in the first place. But we did have a horse. We had a couple of goats. And
did you have a milk cow too, or just did you milk the goats?
We milked the goats until the kids refused to drink it.
Oh, they didn't like it, huh?
They didn't like it. Neither did we. So when we moved to the farm in 1945, of course you have a farm. We had 40 acres. You ought to have a horse, right? So I went to my neighbor next door, an old-time farmer, a Vermont farmer. He had one for sale. And, gee, it was handy, and all I wanted was a working horse. And he said, yeah, he's a good horse. He says he may not look too good, but he'll do the job. I bought the horse, and I got him home. What do you suppose? He was blind as a bat. He didn't look too good.
Doesn't look too good.
Could you still?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he could operate.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work for me, and mostly hauling wood from trees I cut down.
Yeah.
But the only thing he wouldn't do alone was to cross the little bridge across the brook. If you let him, he would, but otherwise he wouldn't. He knew when he hit the planks.
Did you have your own little vegetable garden back in the in the summer?
Oh yeah.
So did you grow enough to eat all winter?
Well, we canned some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't, as I said, I'm not a farmer basically, but I'm willing to learn. And we had to have some meat for the winter, of course, and so I raised a pig. And when it came time to butcher it in the 1st of November, I was going to butcher it and have the meat for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it a merciful death with a 22 behind the ear. And I'd heard that if you dunk it in hot water, you can take the whiskers off, the hair off, right? So I filled a barrel with hot water and I dumped the animal. It was a big one. It was easy. And those hairs, those bristles would not come off. I even had the thing that they sold me to take them off. I skinned the king.
Yeah.
I told the farmer, he said, I never heard of anybody skinning a pig before. I had skin that thick with the fat.
Really? Wow.
Wow.
Was that a hard job?
Well, I had skinned deer because I hunted deer.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't too hard, but I took more. I took more of the meat and fat off than there was left. It was all in the skin. Oh, how the farmer laughed when I told him. He said, "You don't skin a pig." Well, I had to get the thing off to get at the meat. We pumped the well. Water came from a spring when we bought the place across the road. Well, wouldn't you know, the very first winter the thing froze up. So, and I have pictures of my daughter going down to the brook, which is right back of the house, bringing in the pails of water. That's all the water we had. Yeah.
So you had to break open the ice and dip the bucket in there?
Yeah. And of course, you had an outdoor toilet, so that's where we all got constipation. I'm just kidding.
Well, when it's 10 below, I guess you don't want to visit the outhouse, right?
Not out in the shed when it's 10 below zero.
No.
So people have canopies over the bed, but we had a canopy under the bed.
So did you experience isolation out on the farm because during the winters?
Not really. We had, well, we didn't have Daily Mail, of course, but my children, my girls went to school. They rode by bus.
Mm-hmm.
It was somewhat isolated, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we had a wagon which we could use to go to town if the car didn't start. And, but 1 year of that was enough. It was a dirt road from Jamaica to the farm at that time.
Yeah.
The hardtop ended at Jamaica,
Yeah.
in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So even though the school bus made it most of the time, we decided to move into town after 1 year. That was enough. So
Yeah.
we moved into this two-family house. And I did odd jobs around. I had to cut all the wood to heat that house. We had no we had electricity in one room. And
Oh, really? That's it?
No central heat,
Uh-huh.
no flush toilet,
No insulation either.
no insulation.
Yeah.
We had water freeze in the kitchen on the stove overnight.
Whoa.
And all the wood that we burned, I cut without a power. I was still advertising for odd jobs just to do something. I had to make some money. And
Did you have kids yet, or were you just...
I had 3 children.
Oh, at this time you had 3
Yeah.
kids. Oh, wow.
One of them, when we moved up here in 1945, was only months old.
Wow, that is gutsy then.
So I asked a friend, well, actually the house where we rented the upstairs rooms. He had a truck, he was a logger, and I asked him if he would take some Christmas trees for me down to sell in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I had trying to make a couple of bucks. And he said, sure. He said, so I found a farmer that would sell us the trees, and in this logger, Taft, helped me cut them. We loaded his truck and took them down to Manchester, Connecticut, and sold them. Well, half of them. I sold them. He went home with his truck. I stayed and boarded in the house across the street, set up near a diner, and started to sell the trees. Well, it got to be December 23rd, and I had to get back.
Yeah.
I still had half the trees left.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I hadn't made enough money to even pay for the trees.
Oh, boy.
And right then, a guy that was selling trees in another part of town came over, and he said, do you want to sell the rest of your trees? I've run out. Yeah, he will. He bought them for $100, and it was just enough for me to pay the trucker and the lady that I boarded with,
Uh-huh.
and buy my wife a box of candy and my kids some comic books to get when I got home. Don taught me the carpentry business,
Yeah.
and he hired me and a few others for about 2 or 3 years at least. And from what I learned from him, I built 8 places in Jamaica.
Wow.
Half of them were cottages with no electricity, no
So
power tools.
That was that before they had centralized electricity? In other words, was that the rural electrical program around that time?
Yes and no. The REA was installing poles, and that was during that time.
Uh-huh.
But some had electricity going by, but I didn't have the tools.
Yeah, yeah.
But one of the last places I built was an A-frame up on South Hill, and there was no electricity there until I found out or noticed that they had the line almost there.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked them if they'd come down a couple of poles so I could use the
Uh-huh.
electricity,
Yeah.
which is a lot easier than.
Yes, yeah.
And they did, but you know where they put the pole? Right square in front of the view that I had the house planned for.
Oh my gosh.
So I asked them if they'd move it. They understood they did.
Did they really?
They moved it back
Wow.
about 25 feet. And I built my place in East Jamaica pretty much. I had some help, but I did the major work. Cleared the space, dug the footing and poured the concrete, and went from there.
How long would it take you to do a house usually?
One summer.
One
Usually.
summer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was still town clerk and treasurer. But we were only open 3 days a week at that time.
Oh.
So I had spare time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, were there a lot of cars,
No.
automobiles? People did horse and buggy? Yeah. And during a winter like this, would people just stay in pretty much, or?
Pretty much. Yeah. If they went out, they had to go on a sleigh
Yeah. And
or a wagon.
was there any kind of snow plow at that time? Was there any way to plow a road by dragging a plow or anything?
No, not way back.
No. Okay.
Have you ever seen a roller?
Yeah, I was just going to say, my grandmother, who grew up in Wardsboro, she has pictures of those rollers that
Yeah.
they drag, the horses would drag along the road.
I've got one right in the in my closet there. A picture of horse drawn, 4 horses drawing a roller to pack it down, and then they traveled on top of it.
On top of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the horses, it wouldn't matter that it was turned to ice as much as it
Yeah,
was a car.
if it was packed down, they could manage.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been packed down, it'd been very tough on the horses.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you have to remember that one time when I first came to Jamaica, I was talking to somebody on Muzzy's store porch, and it was wintertime. One of the men said, gee, a while ago, our friend Tom went by here, and all we could see was his head up here. The snow was so deep. So we yelled at him, how you doing, Tom? He said, I'm doing okay, but my horse is having a hell of a time. And the selectmen came to me, I don't know why, but they said, you want to take over until March meeting? We got to elect a new town clerk and treasurer. And I said, sure, I'll take it over. So I did, and in March they elected me. But I said there's going to have to be one stipulation. If I'm hired, I'm going to have to get more than $400 a year.
Is that all they paid the town clerk then?
$400 a year plus 1% of the taxes collected. I inherited from
Yeah.
Ray his desk,
Uh-huh.
a hand adding machine, and a hand typewriter, manual.
Yeah.
That's it. I furnished the heat, the lights, the room, and what else? Whatever else I needed.
Do you have a telephone?
And the telephone. I furnished all those.
Yeah.
Well, they went from 4 to 800,
Oh, from 4. Oh.
and that plus the 1% of the taxes, and my other businesses: real estate, insurance, driving the school bus, building cottages, a little here,
Yeah,
a little there.
yeah.
I had just my hands, but here again, this is where my training in night school.
That's right. The business school you went
Without
to.
it, I couldn't take it. I wouldn't know a ledger from
Yeah.
I don't know whether they knew at that time that I had that training. I don't think they even knew it.
Really?
But I had it, and so when I saw the books, I knew what to do with them. For that 2 years that I spent after high school.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I met my future wife,
At the night school?
at the night school. She had to go because she had to quit high school to take care of her invalid mother.
When you were the town clerk, what were taxes like then compared to now? I mean, now you hear people saying taxes are so high. Did they complain about taxes then too as being too high?
And they always complain. Well, they were modest, you know. They were fair. But if you're town clerk and treasurer, several things I want to warn you about. Never have it in your home. Never. They knock on your door
All
midnight,
hours. Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning, I need a hunting license.
Oh, no.
They come in and say, how come your roads are so muddy that I'm stuck out here? Me. They're asking me. Why isn't my road plowed?
Did you have a road crew back then or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good road crew.
Yeah.
Then they come in and say, how come you raised my taxes? Well, I didn't have anything to do with it. The town clerk, you know, the state offered a, I don't know, 50-cent bounty for porcupine ears 1 year. So what do you suppose happened when you're the town clerk?
You had to collect the ears?
Yeah, a guy come in with a live porcupine.
Oh,
The whole,
live
the
porcupine?
whole thing. All I wanted
In a
was
box or what?
all I wanted was an ear.
you sure didn't want all the quills.
I said, take it home, bring the ears back, and I'll give you the bounty.
Oh my gosh.
What would you do with the ears then?
Well, then you kept track of them and sent them to the state,
Ah,
and they paid I paid the man or the person, and the state reimbursed the town clerk.
ah,
Yeah.
wow. So porcupine ears were a form of currency.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah. And then another time, of course, I collected taxes, and which was a good okay. But one time, a guy came in. So help me, he had a bag about that big of coins that he saved all year. Who do you suppose had to count those coins?
You did, and they didn't have counters in those days, did
He
they?
did- No.
Pennies included?
He just dumped them on the. That's my taxes. I had to go through the whole thing and figure out how much he was paying.
Did he have the right amount in there or not?
No, no.
No. He still owed some?
Yeah, but all he wanted to know was how much more he owed.
Wrote some books, huh?
Yeah. Well, one winter about 4 years ago, one winter was in late March, early April. I looked out the back window in my house in East Jamaica, and there was about an inch or two of snow on the ground, and a fox came out of the woods limping, holding her right paw up. She wasn't using it at all. So I knew she couldn't hunt very well. So I started throwing some food out to her, and I fed her for a month or two until good weather in June. And she kept coming, and finally I got her so she would come when I called. She'd start down the driveway, and if somebody was there that wanted to see her, I would call and she'd come right back up to the back of the house, and I'd feed her dog food. And then she started to lie around on the lawn. I have many pictures of the fox. We were good friends. That was a major industry when I moved to Vermont, was logging. Men would go into the woods on Monday morning, and they'd work in the woods until Friday night. Oh, you know.
Logging camps in the woods.
Yeah, and most of them with axes. The power saw wasn't invented until I think it was the early 40s. I was working for a man down that had a store in East Jamaica, Grinley. It was John Grinley, when those things first came on the market. And he put in a few in stock. He sold groceries and also appliances, stoves and floor furnaces, which I installed a few. And he sold some of these power saws. And the thing, the joke, I think this is the truth. One man bought a power saw. He was a logger. He brought it back to Grindy after a few days. He said, "I can't do anything with this thing. It's too heavy." Well, John Grindy said, "First you got to start the motor." You know, I went through that big depression, and I was in my 18, 19-year-old,
Yeah.
and we couldn't buy cigarettes.
Okay.
So what we did is went around in the streets and picked up cigarettes that were discarded, cut off the part that went into the mouth, and took the tobacco and rolled our own.
How did you get through those tough times?
Huh?
How did you get through the depression, you and your family? And
Oh, gee.
how did you manage? That many, your parents had 8 children, right?
Well, by that time, they had started to disperse.
That's true, you were 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was left was myself and my 2 sisters. So my father had a milk business in Springfield, a small business.
Milk, what are you selling milk?
Bottled milk.
Bottled milk?
In glass.
Uh-huh.
And I used to deliver it in our car.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have a milk truck, huh?
No,
You did
no.
it in your car.
There was milk bottles in the car.
Yeah.
Then my father lost a job, and there were my 3 sisters, 2 sisters, and myself, and my father and mother. We had to move into a 2-car garage.
A garage, really?
During the Depression.
Yeah. I slept on the porch, an open porch, no screen, no glass.
In the winter?
In the winter.
Did you have heat in the garage, or?
Well, we had a space heater.
Oh my gosh.
No partitions. No bathtub. We bathed in the galvanized tub. I slept on a porch on a swing at ground level, and woke up in the morning several times in the winter with snow on my blankets. And you wonder how I made it? I went to work for the WPA, and you heard that, Works
Yeah.
Progress Administration.
Yeah.
And they had a local project right near 16 acres where we lived, and that's the only way we got chits they call them, or for groceries. We could buy milk and bread and some meat, but no cigarettes, no liquor, no tobacco, you know.
Well, what'd you cook on in a garage? Did you have a hot
Well, we
plate or
had
something?
just a standing oil stove.
Oh, you did? Uh-huh. Did your dad ever find work during that period, or was...
No.
No?
I went to school, I had already told you, I think, to a college prep.
Yeah.
That's why I had to go to night school to learn to do something. Some of these kids came in, good friends of mine, came in chauffeur-driven cars, and they picked them up after school
This was in Springfield.
in Springfield. And during the Depression, after a couple of years, I saw their parents in the bread line, going for coupons to get food. They lost everything.
So when they talk about this recession we're in now being the worst since the Great Depression, it's no...
I've been thinking of writing, I've written so many letters, but this is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to that.
Yeah.
Never give up, never say can't. I taught my girls, never say can't. It can be done. And working hard, which I have done, and it didn't hurt me a bit.
The family took your car away?
Well, they figured at 90, 97, 98 I shouldn't be driving. And they're probably right.
Was that hard?
Well, you know, when you've been driving since you were 16. You know what the river said when it saw a couple of beaver coming?
No.
I'll be there.